Welcome everybody to Let's Talk About It. A podcast is a platform for real talk, real people, real topics, real conversations. For people watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, hit that notification button. When this episode drops out, you will know automatically when it comes out. People listen to me on audio, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Hit that like button, hit that notification button. Give us like 5 stars. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm getting 4, but give me 5. After this episode, you're going to love this today. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I got a special guest on Let's Talk About It with Luke J. Oh, man. First of all, I had to write this down because she got so much credentials out there. It's just straight ridiculous. She is an award-winning supply chain leader. She is a 3-time author, which we will get into her books and the books that she's coming out with soon. She's going to be hosting her own podcast, the Professional Chameleon Reset Podcast. We're going to ask her about that right there. And she is a keynote speaker, which I want to know more about that because, like, I don't know really the definition of it, you know what I mean? But she gonna break that down to me. And also, she's gonna break down small and diverse biz advocate. I want to know what that is. Ladies and gentlemen, from West Philly, where I'm from, Philly born, Sharon Manker. How you doing, Sharon?
I am good, Lou. It is good to be here. Thank you very much for having me. And I'm so excited to be here.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on. Like, I mean, you was recommended by a friend of mine named Donnie. Donnie D. Donnie's from Philly too. Donnie, his wife T, was on my show a couple months ago. It was a great episode. Go check that out. First and foremost, how is Philly right now? Because I'm down here in Charlotte.
Philly is Philly. Philly is doing its thing. In some places it's hot, some places it's not. So it's doing its thing. But wait, I wanted to pause a minute to tell you about Donnie, right?
Okay.
So when we get to my children's book, I dedicated it to 15 women in my old neighborhood in West Philly who I thought were influential in my life. And Donnie's mom was one of them.
Awesome.
Because Michelle's on my heart. And so that is, I call them my golden girls of Webster Street.
I love that.
I thought you didn't know that fact, so I figured I gotta say that because those women who are now in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and some have passed away. In my opinion, if it wasn't for them, I would not be where I am today.
I love that. Donnie's gonna love that right there. I know he already knows. Sharon, like, what I mean? Like, no, we're both from Philly. I don't know what part of West Philly you're from. I was on the
54 from Webster.
I was on Gerard Avenue side. My side was right across the street from the graveyard over there. But I miss those days. But let's get on to it. Like, what I mean?
Okay.
I want to know your first book, right? You're saying it was let me see, I got this right. West Philly Grit. A journaling guide to self-care discovery. Now you got part 1 you already did. You're working on part 2. Am I correct?
Correct.
All right. So let's break down, like, first and foremost, like, give me a little tasting of the book. But first, though, what led you up to your first book, The West Philly Grit? Because I'm very self-care discovery. That's a big thing. We all need that. What led you up there? Tell me a little small journey about that.
I didn't know what I was becoming, but I knew I had to be better to get where I needed to be.
Okay.
During the pandemic, it was like super crazy, right? Yeah. And I'm working in corporate America, and I am me.
Yeah.
Chocolate little me.
Yeah.
And you become so consumed and stressed out that you start to lose yourself.
Really?
So I was in the house. I was like, you know what? I have a bucket list of items that I was going to do as an adult. I need to start working on these now because tomorrow wasn't promised. And the pandemic was like a scary time. Yeah. So I challenged myself to publish my first book.
Okay.
And so I literally joined like one of those 5-day challenges with like a well-known best-selling author. And I like learned all the tips. And I always tell people, I learned something from TikTok. I learned something from Facebook for a chance. Because literally, that's all I did was go online just to look at their tips on writing the book. I had a little journal, and I would write all the steps down. Then I go research them. Were those steps valid? Is this what they really did? Because me as a researcher, I need to see and know that it's working. And so I started to make this journal. And when I started to make this journal, all I kept thinking was, okay, how am I going to encourage people? Because for me, God blesses the cheerful giver. So I want to produce something, but I want it to be something that's going to give people life. Right. Gotcha. And so that's why the self-care discovery journal happened, because at the time it was like, okay, I had just turned 40 and I was like, well, at this point in my life, I have no more F's to give. So, hey, we're going to do it. Like, either they're going to like it or they're not. So the first thing I did was I was contacting all these publishers, figuring out the publishing thing. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to do that. They wanted you to give all this money for the opportunity for them to look at it, not with any promise that they would actually publish it. And so that's when I went the route of self-publishing. And so I just like, I'm going to do it. I put it together. I put all the content together. It's about resilience, grit, self-love, faith, family, friendship, perseverance, and compassion. Not compassion for others, compassion for self. And so I'll explain to you later, or if you want me to do it now, why I felt like I needed some self-compassion. Because I was showing it for others, but I wasn't giving it to myself.
Oh, trust me, I've been there. I think a lot of people, when they see us, they have been there. But let me ask you something, right? When you was coming up, like younger age and stuff like that, did you like journal? Did you like do certain writings, like a diary or something like that inspire you for that?
I used to, I think it's a journal. I used to journal a little bit, and it was like here and there, hit or miss. And then I used to like write poetry, because that's what I used to do. And I always make this joke. I'm West Philadelphia, born and raised I wasn't in the playground. I was in the library. Ironically, I married the librarian's son. Okay? I was in the library.
You know what, Sharon? Once I may cut you off, that song was getting on my last nerve, because every time I tell somebody from West Philly, that's the first thing they sing. I'm like, come on, stop it. But
we want to remind you.
I get it, and I love that. But when you said earlier, right, discovering yourself and like, doing for you. So were there like certain things that led you up to that, to like to write this? Like you took personal journeys with that. So give me a little example of the personal journey for you to put into this book.
I am a family of firsts. A lot of firsts in my family. I'm the first generation college grad. I had a brother that was out there on drugs for years, who was my older brother. To be honest, I was a secret child for years and no one knew about me. So that's a part of my next journey. And I struggled with loving myself, because I was so intently focused on making sure that I was a good girl in case my dad wanted to introduce me to his family. So I always followed the rules. I always did this. I always did that. I always held in anytime I wanted to cry, because I was told growing up, suck it up.
Well, I know. Trust me. We all been there. We've been there.
What you crying for? So I'm a solid Gen Xer, right? I was pretty much thorough and somehow turned out okay, because it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of self-work. And so that was my journey. And so that's why in the journal, there are prompts for faith, because I struggled with my faith until I knew and saw for myself that I needed that mustard seed faith in order to get to the next step. I really am intent and focused on which friends are really friends and not just associates.
Preach.
My fun that I like to have, because I like to chill. I like to have fun. I like to brunch. That's my thing. I like to, but some people like to go to party. I'm like, I'm too old for that. So we don't do all that. We don't do all that. I like to sit, chill, have a tea, and sometimes a scotch, whiskey bourbon. I like to chill. I watch Star Trek and Star Wars and sit on the sofa, and I'm cool with that.
No, hold on. Time out. You can't watch both now. You can't watch Star Trek and Star Wars. No, you got to pick one now. You got
no. I can do both. See, that's why I'm eclectic. That's why I'm that professional chameleon that can just go all the way to disrupt the status quo. See?
I see.
But yeah, so I developed the grit to be able to survive a lot of things that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And over the years, as I excelled in my corporate career, I learned that I had to have that grit and I had to have that emotional intelligence in order to be able to survive.
Self-care discovery. So what was that self-care discovery, that pivotal moment? Everybody has a pivotal moment where they do something. So what was that pivotal self-care moment? Like, I'm going to write.
That's a good question. See, I think we came from the neighborhood, the same neighborhood. So you asking the deep one. So I had this executive who I really, really respected. And he sat me down and he told me, you didn't get this promotion because nobody knows you. And I was taken aback because I'm like, wait, I got these high performance ratings. I'm doing this good, the job, this and the other. And he said, well, nobody knows you. And I was like, that. Because I was like, I thought he like highly respected me. I thought, I was doing a good job. And that wasn't it. He didn't say I wasn't doing a job. He said, no one knows you. And you need to get people to know you. And at that time, let's put a pin there, I had already had several instances in my corporate career where, oh, well, you don't have this certification or this degree, so I went and got that. You don't have this, so I went and got my master's. Well, you don't have this, so I went and got my certification from Cornell. And I'm like, okay, so now I got all these degrees, all these certifications, and I'm doing all this work. And say what now? And so as a result, I decided I hired a Black woman-owned company that was executive presence and branding. Then I hired another Black woman-owned company for social media. And they taught me those skills that I needed to be able to have Sharon Manker as a brand. I immediately bought my domain name, SharonManker.com. I immediately figured out how to do all the algorithms so that when you Google my name, certain things come up, my accolades come up. I was intentional about all of that. And then I immediately started a content calendar that would literally post when those people who are executives in that company needed or online, it posts so it shows them so they could get to know me.
Gotcha.
See? And then something miraculous happened, Lou. Literally weeks after he had said that to me, and I put this all into play, I won Veteran Advocate of the Year to support veteran-owned businesses.
Okay.
And I'm not a vet, but because I advocate for them turning their MOS into actual businesses and having some ways to make money and support their families, I got Veteran Advocate of the Year. I've been Corporate Minority Advocate of the Year through Eastern FCC. I have been the City of Philadelphia's MedWeek We Bank Woman Advocate of the Year. This is within weeks of this man telling me this. Dang. And then I was awarded the top 15 women impacting diversity, equity, and inclusion in the United States for the Diversity Plus magazine. So when I tell you God don't play about me,
I see.
God don't play about me.
I see. Oh, okay. All right.
And it's all because I started to be very intentional about Sharon Manker as a brand. What do people say when I am not in the room and they're thinking about me? They're thinking about she is empowering small businesses. They're thinking about she is making sure that diverse businesses that are woman-owned, veteran-owned, minority-owned, LGBTQ-owned are represented and have opportunities to bid with large corporations. And they're thinking about empowerment, both for youth and both for, because I'm a mom, both for youth and both for women empowerment.
Wow. It's mad crazy. I love this. I love, man, Dottie, I appreciate you, bro, for hooking this up. Yeah, I'm gonna ask you, right, when this book was published, when you finally got everything done with your what's the person called? The person you give it to, the publisher.
Yeah.
When everything's said and done, and you got that, but I assume they sent it to you in the mail first, so you could like the final overlook and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when you open that box, walk me through when you open it up and you saw this book.
I did a TikTok about it, right? That was like one of our first TikToks, right? And so I just like did the opening, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I did. I designed. I was sitting here and just making sure I had it all right. I ran it through like Grammarly. I didn't know what I was doing. I self-published this, right? I don't know what I'm doing. So, but people started to love it, and so it was like, okay, it's helping people, because I've had people come up to me and be like, I bought a copy for my cousin. I sent copies to my friends. I bought them all for Christmas, copies of this book, because what I tell you in the beginning of the book, that this is not for anybody else. Once you start writing in this journal, it's for you.
Got it.
Because you're reflecting on your resilience and your experiences, and you're trying to get to your grit and determination and what makes you feel like you can persevere. Because to be honest, we've all had those moments where we just wanted to give up.
Oh, yeah.
And those are the sad, teary-eyed, I'm in the fetal position and I don't know what I need to do next, but I know I got to figure it out. And so that's why I created this. I created this because I know that right now I am living what my ancestors didn't even think about aspiring to do.
Gotcha.
And that's important to me.
Oh, it's important. It's important. It should be important to everybody. Few more on that one. The West Philly grit. You know, I'm impressed by that. But there's one question. It's like a two-part question.
Mm-hmm.
Why the title? And number two is, and I really want you to give me something on this one. What did you take? Because I know you're working on part two.
Mm-hmm.
What did you personally take from writing this book to delivering it to everybody seeing it? Like, what did you take out of the whole experience?
I felt like I was growing stronger. I felt like I was building up my confidence so that I could be an example for my kids.
Okay.
Why West Philly grit? Because I'm going to try to say this without crying. Because growing up in the hood, people always underestimating me. And me being that, oh, I don't want to be seen as the angry Black woman, so I'm always the quiet corporate lady, but silently making moves, and putting stuff together, and people just still trying to shrink me. It is that grit I had to have to overcome.
Got it.
That West Philly is giving homage to my neighborhood, my old stomping grounds, because people thought I couldn't, I wouldn't, and I shouldn't be anything.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know.
And it's like, okay, well, she's doing this, that, and the other. She has the audacity to do what?
You proved them wrong.
And I proved them wrong. So I remember one time when I was younger, I had a person say, you know, they don't need it. They have enough corporate lawyers and people in corporate America. Excuse me? They have enough Black people in corporate America. I was like, ooh. But you should think about being a cook. Now, at the time, I was in high school when someone said that to me, but I took that to heart. And I took that to heart because I was also the president of the law club, who had just won the city's mock trial competition in 1998. Right? So if you can only imagine, I was ready to debate this.
I know you were. I know.
And that was when I was a child. So, but that whole situation stuck with me, and I did debate it with the principal and everything. I was on top of that situation to advocate for myself, and that transformed me to today because I had to always fight for myself.
And I love that right there. But before I move on, I want to touch on something. I want to ask you something like, real quick, like a little short version of it. You said like the angry Black woman syndrome. That's a big stereotype in this world today, especially with you in the corporate setting. Like in the short version, like how do you deal with it? Because I know there's other African American or Black American, whatever you want to call yourself. Some people want to say this, some people want to say that. How do you deal with that in the corporate world in today's life?
I call it pausing, right? So what I do is I pause because I've had people say some of the most ignorant things to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know if we were out in the street, it would be another story.
Right? Yes, facts.
But you have to have some emotional intelligence to be able to pause, right? Mm-hmm. And to take it in and to listen and get to the root cause of what their issue is. Whether they are just venting, whether they are really attacking you, and then how do you handle that? And for me, I'm gonna be real honest. This is real honest, real raw. Okay.
Hit it.
For me, it was hard. It was hard, but I had to do it. There have been times where I have felt so immensely horrible in my office. I had to go to my car and just cry. But I never let them see me cry. And then I come back and I perform with excellence, period. And I did that for years. And so that's my self-care discovery journey, right? Exactly. Having compassion for myself. I didn't speak up. I didn't speak out. Nobody was speaking up for me. Mm-hmm. They were just being bystanders, just looking. Like, okay.
I've been there.
And so it took me a while to realize, oh, you know what? You have to have some empathy and grace for yourself. Mm-hmm. Because you are a contributor.
Yes.
You are a leader. And stop letting them make you feel otherwise. So that is my continuing self-care journey.
And I love that answer. Now, I'm excited about this one. Lily from West Philly. This is a motivational children's book for kids, which is not that many. You're probably the second person I've had on here with had a motivational children's book for kids. It was a guest I had on last year. She used the alphabet as careers to teach kids. Not like A for Apple. She used like different careers, which I thought was very, very fantastic.
That's brilliant.
She's actually from Philly too. So I mean, because we're smart people. But Lily from West Philly, a motivational story for kids, a children's book. What was the concept? When did you come up with it? Why did you come up with it? And who's Lily? Is this something from as a person? Who's Lily?
Right. With it. I was angry. I came up with it. Mm-hmm. I was angry because an educator at my daughter's school said, not the school she just graduated from, I had took her out to school. For 1 year, she was in the school. And when I had moved from one section of the city to another, and I put her in the school, and the educator said the books were outdated technology. And I was livid. Okay. I was livid.
A little bit.
I was livid. A little bit. Kind of rolled up there that next morning, like, wait, tell me that again. Tell me what you told me on the phone. Tell me that to my face. And I was livid for multiple reasons. One, because my mother-in-law was the regional director for Philadelphia Library. Okay. Two, I got a whole library of books that I try to encourage my children to read. And all you're telling them to go to YouTube and have it read to them. So I was kind of insulted. And what I told that educator, because at the time I was on this other board called this nonprofit board called Healthy Newsworks, which helps kids become published authors at the end of the year. So I love supporting that organization. Been a part of that organization's board and advisory board for years. So shout out to them. And so it just broke my heart that this young educator knew first year teaching. And so I went in and I had a conversation about how you are teaching these Black and brown children to lessen themselves and to shrink. And it made me angry.
Got it.
And so I came up with the book, which is not just a story. So that's the whole premise. The whole premise, my children's book is 3 parts.
Okay.
The first part is a story, the story of Lily becoming an entrepreneur. It pays respect to my old neighborhood in so many different ways, and I can get into that. The second part of the book are actually affirmations. So you got story first, right? And then you got affirmations. And then at the end is a bucket list planner, because I want kids to dream big. I want kids to make sure that they start listing out what things you want to experience, where you want to go, where you want to travel, what books you want to read, where you want to experience, things of that nature. So I wanted kids to be able to explore their mind and be creative and not just take the book and go put it down. This is something you can always come back to.
Wow.
And then I thought about neurodivergent types, right? Because I'm also my master's in education. So I thought about how can I make sure that kids who have ADHD or learning, have some type of learning disability, they can still be attracted to this book. That's why it goes from ages 8 to 18. Because you could have this book and if you just want to doodle, you can go in and you could find an affirmation and explore and doodle on the side. If you just want to read the story, you can read the story and be inspired and always come back to it. And then if you want to just dream and go back, I need to update what experiences I want to have. They can always do that. So that's why I created that. And like I said, I dedicated the book to my golden girls of Webster Street. These are all women from my old neighborhood, including the lady who the story is about. So Lily is me. Okay. Lily from West Philly.
Okay.
It's me because one of my associates, when I was a manager at the McDonald's on 52nd Street. Okay. Back in the day. When I was younger.
Chestnut?
Yep. That was my first job. Shout out to 52nd Street McDonald's. Yes. Well, my staff named me Lily, little intelligent lady.
Wow.
And shout out to Siobhan Damon. She's the one that did it. And so they all called me Lily, which is too funny. So only a few people know that. So Lily is me. And Lily finds some strength in her life. Like I said, it's a kind of a little bit of my tale where she would go clean for her neighbors. So I used to go clean for my neighbors when I was younger to make money. I was too young to get a job, right? Before I became. And so in the story, she meets this lady named Miss Barbara Wynn. She was a real woman. She was my neighbor who taught me how to type. She passed away a few years ago. Oh my gosh, I might cry. But she used to take me all her Eastern Star stuff. And she taught me a lot about being a lady.
Okay.
She was the first Black woman that I met growing up that had her own degree, her house, her car.
Awesome.
And she was just fabulous. And what's so crazy is you always see me with pearls on when I'm speaking. That's in honor of her and her Eastern Star chapter.
Respect. I love that. I shared that. Dan, that was damn good. Wow. I'm surprised nobody's ever asked you that, because that was the first thing that popped in my brain. Like, well, who's Lily?
If they don't open the book and they just look at the cover, they just think, oh, I probably should have said this is the 3-part story. I self-published. I didn't know what I was doing.
Is this fair to say that this book is for everyone, not
Yes.
just kids of color?
Correct. It is for everyone. It is for everyone. It's not just for little Black kids. It's for all kids. And the reason I made it, about me is because when I go in to talk to kids, they can relate to it. And they'd be like, Miss Sharon, it's quite cute. I said, it's supposed to, right? And so it's more relatable when I do that. When I go talk to them, I just gave a talk for Career Day at a charter school here in Philly, where it's for 6th, 7th, 8th grades, and it was a beautiful testament when this little girl asked me. She said, "Have you ever known anyone to deal with anxiety? And would your book help me?" And I said, "Yes, I've dealt with anxiety and stress and depression." And her eyes lit up because she's like, an adult is admitting this in a room full of kids.
Wow.
And we had such a touching, in-depth conversation. And she said, "Well, if I journal in your journal book and I read the story," she said, "what happens if I get emotional? I get emotional when I write out my feelings." I said, "Let it out." She said, "Well, I'm always being told to suck it up." I said, "Let it out."
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, "It's okay. If you write something and you need to get it out and you need to cry, cry. And then wipe away your tears. And I want you to find one of the affirmations in that book. And I want you to go stronger. I want you to love yourself more. I want you to tell yourself over and over again, you can, you will, and you must."
I love it. I love it. Sharon, I can tell you right now, I know this book means a lot to you. I saw on your Instagram, right? You had a showing at a children's bookstore.
I
So
did.
So describe to me that feeling right there. You had a showing, you saw in the bookstore. Plus, I mean, you already seen it, you already wrote it, but what's that feeling like seeing it, walking to a bookstore, let's say like on 52nd Street or any bookstore anywhere or Amazon or anywhere is out there, when you see this book, the work you put in, what does that mean to you?
It means so much because I never thought I could be an author, but I always knew I wanted to. I never thought I would be able to see my book in print anywhere. like what? Like who the heck am I? and that day on 52nd Street was so special. So the journey of Lily actually has all the books I've ever been a part of inside the book. When Lily is helping her neighbor clean, she finds this book, Legacy to Share, which learns all these stories of Black and brown folks and how they've been achieving and they've been doing. And she gets inspired to go start a store on 52nd Street. And then she modeled her store, Lily's Boutique. I modeled it after one of the oldest Black-owned boutiques on 52nd Street called Babes. And so when I was on 52nd Street a few weeks ago, and I was able to finally walk down to that store with my son, it was a magical moment when I told that owner, I said, "I've been paying respect to your store all over the country, and you didn't even know."
Wow.
They had been in business since 1972.
Wow.
And I showed him, and he took a picture, and he said, "Oh my God, my wife is going to love this." I said, "If you look in this book, the way this book is, the building's design is designed just like that store on 52nd Street to pay respect to them."
I love that.
Because that's where I bought my first grown-up outfit.
Trust me.
With my paycheck from 52nd Street.
Listen, Sharon, back in the day, man, we brought everything off of 52nd Street, Deuce, whatever you want to call it, if you're from Philly or whatever. I mean, you had every store down there. And then I think a couple years later, everybody started going up 69th Street. Every now and then, like, we'll go downtown, like to the old gallery. I
Yeah.
don't know what it's called now.
The
Something
fashion district
fashion.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. But you remember the galleries
That's
back
the
in the day,
gallery.
right?
Oh, the gallery.
Yeah, it's the gallery back in the day. So, but I'm so happy for you. I know. I'm very proud of you.
You.
But before I get into this next one, um, being a keynote speaker, right? But before we get into to another book, I want to know, deep dive into me and explain what a keynote speaker is, and how much you enjoy doing that.
I enjoy inspiring the next set of folks to disrupt the status quo. I unapologetically make sure that people are intentional with their time, with their money, and with their actions.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I do as a keynote speaker is I'll deliver speeches. I want to get paid, right? But that's first and foremost. So, I deliver speeches that talk about professional development, that talk about resetting and making sure that you have psychological safety at work.
Mm.
I do speeches on, this is my trademark, it's called Advocating for Change Unapologetically. So that's one of my signature speeches where I talk about how you can advocate to make sure that your community is making an economic impact and that you are intentional about what you do to make an economic impact.
Got it.
Making sure that you are spending money with those businesses in your neighborhood so that you actually are supporting the local economy
Mm-hmm.
and not just saying that you are actually doing it. And so that is my very intentional push. We started during the pandemic, my husband and I, to make sure that our small businesses in our neighborhood actually thrive because some of them had to fold because of the pandemic. But what we started to do was make sure every pay we would spend money with some local business.
Okay.
Well, it could be just $20, but we spend money with some local business. And the way I see that influencing my children and my children's friends and their families and my neighbors is people are getting it. They are making that decision to go to that local shop that's around the corner. That's woman owned, veteran owned, minority owned. Go
Yeah.
to that tea house that's on Germantown Avenue that is LGBTQ owned and go sit and have tea and invite their friends. They go to that veteran owned business and go buy candles from them or go buy a book from them. It's that intention. And then what I do on my side, on my social media, is I will always tag those businesses.
Gotcha.
So, like, when this post, I'm going to tag a Black woman owned business who styled me called Dolly's, right?
There
Another
you
Black
go.
woman owned business, another Black owned. I'm representing at least 4 different Black woman owned businesses right now on my presence.
Awesome.
And I do that intentionally every time I speak. So, my keynotes are about either supplier diversity, making sure that small businesses can connect with larger corporations. That's another part of another book that I'm writing. Which is a part of my career. That's what I do. I had 24 years in corporate supply chain management, making sure goods and services get to people and making sure that the ecosystem of suppliers is inclusive for all. That is what I do.
I love it.
I disrupt the status quo. I make sure that those systems and policies that are in place to create barriers and obstacles for entry for small and diverse businesses are mitigated.
Awesome. I love it, girl, man. All right, let's ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like this episode. This is a very good one. People listening to us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And by the way, I forgot to mention this. Like, we're also going to Audible when this one comes out. So people listening to us on Audible, it'll be out there as well. Sharon, rising beyond challenges. All right. Now you say you're working on this, right?
All right. So here's the thing. So I wrote the book.
Yeah. I'm gonna say one thing. You wrote the book. We talked about it earlier. Rising Beyond Challenges is a collection of West Philly grit short stories to enrich your everyday, described as a life pearls, right?
Yes.
All right. Each pearl of wisdom is a step towards an unapologetic you. Now, I want you to explain, your story with your book, because I know we talked about earlier, but that phrase, each pearl of wisdom is a stop towards an unapologetic you. Like, what did you mean by that?
So a few years ago, I came up with like these 12 sayings or 12 pearls of wisdom that I kind of live by, that I collected them over the years, right? When I was younger, to encourage myself to read more, to do more, I say the more you know, the more you grow, the more you grow, the more money you make, period. Yeah. So therefore, I need to know things. Therefore, I need to read more. Therefore, I need to study more. Therefore, I need to work hard. Yeah. So that's one example. And those pearls, I called it Pearl, again, to honor that woman, Barbara K. Wynn, because she always told me a lady always wears her pearls, right? And she always acts like a lady. So the pearls of wisdom is an homage to her. I'm all about paying respect to my ancestors and to the women who sold into me and men who sold into me. It's important to me to make sure that they're recognized. And so that's where that comes from. That comes from that need to, I have these things that I try to impart on my children and their friends and whoever I come in contact with. And so I wanted to make sure that people have that love and compassion for themselves. People have that mentality that even though things are challenging, and sometimes you're that person that doesn't see that light at the end of the rainbow and you feel like giving up. I've been there. I've done that. Even though I don't post myself crying online, there are days where I have been. And even though I don't sit there and write, oh, I'm so sad today, da, 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 da. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
That's true.
And just because you don't see all of that negative and you see all this light, bubbly stuff on my social media, you be like, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with her. You don't know. I just spent the whole hour on my knees praying. Fucking stuff, Lord. Help me. Please. Like, they don't know. So,
wait a minute.
They don't know.
Wait a minute. All right. Okay.
The struggle's real.
All right. But the rising beyond the challenges, you said you're working on it. You did it, but it didn't come out yet.
All right. So this is when the imposter syndrome comes in, where you feel like, I don't know, like somebody said something like years ago and it just creeps into your head and you're like, I gotta wait. Okay. Ain't nothing to wait for. I just need to. I am in my own way at this point. That's all. I'm in my own way. Ain't nothing but time and opportunity and money. Money is the thing, because when you self-publish it, you got to pay for a lot of things out of pocket. Also have the kids in school, and there's also graduation time. So, so yeah, it's just me, just in my own way, right? It's me being in my own way, but it is a continuation of my chapter that I started in the book called Legacy to Share. My chapter is called Failure Was Not an Option, where I tell my journey of how I made certain choices for work, for school. It talks about how I'm the granddaughter of a sharecropper from Aiken, South Carolina. And I don't let myself forget that. There you go. I am a first generation college grad. I am a Drexel University alum. I am also have my master's degree from North Central University. Like I said, certifications from Cornell and other places. And it just talks about my whole career. How I started in corporate America, how I am now a full-time business owner, how that journey happened. Whew, after a lot of strife. But it's hopefully going to inspire people. Okay. That's what I want to do. I just want to make sure that, for me, God blesses the cheerful giver, right? Okay. And for me, my ministry and my giving is what I do to make sure that the next generation of professionals, that the next generation of people have hope, have joy, have faith, and can go on.
I love it. I love it. Now you got another one, the little Supplier Diversity pocketbook. That has it. You working on that, or that's coming up?
All right. So I have been in corporate supply chain management for 24 years, right? Okay. So ironically, let's pause this for a minute. Okay. See this my award I just got a few weeks ago.
Okay.
All right. So I was named one of the top 50 supply chain and procurement professionals in the world. I'm an icon now, right? Look at God. And so what I did was I had put together over about 2 years' time, I had put together just things and tips that I usually post on LinkedIn for small and diverse businesses, tips for them to connect with corporations.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have worked at so many publicly traded corporations, I realized there are things that we can disclose from a corporate standpoint that are different than what we say publicly.
Okay.
So I kind of made like a decipher code book guide for suppliers to be able to have achievable wins. I wanted them to have kind of like the cheat codes of understanding the corporate talk
Yeah, I know
versus
about
real
corporate
talk.
talk. I know about corporate talk. I know about that.
Right. And so I could tell you, oh, I'm aiming to make sure I diversify this category in order to make sure that we have amount of suppliers to meet that need.
Mm-hmm.
What I actually am saying is I only can pick two of y'all. I got a little bit amount of money and a little bit amount of time, and this KPI actually means this.
Okay. All right.
So I kind of broke it down so people won't waste their time and energy courting, trying to get these folks in different supply chains and different corporations to do things when y'all speaking two different languages.
Okay.
But by law, as a corporate person, we are limited by what we can say beyond our wall.
I don't think that's everyday life there to me, but
So I kind of just wanted to make it simple. I did some basic terminology of what some things that we say in corporate America.
Yeah.
Within large corporations in general. And I also broke it down into some steps and tips. And I also got some very well-known other advocates, people who advocate for the underrepresented communities, to give me some advice that they would give to small and diverse businesses.
I love that. All right.
But I am going to change the name. So
there you go.
That's the thing.
I got a couple more
because I don't want any of the bad words. So I changed the name.
No bad
There's
words.
no bad words. It's actually called Procure to Power. And that's what I'm working on the trademark for now.
Okay. All right. Now, a couple more things before we wind it down. I know you're going to be a host of your own podcast.
Yes.
Professionals Chameleon Reset podcast. Like, so when you going to start your first couple episodes and when you going to come out, then what's the podcast about?
So.
Oh, boy.
All right. So the Professional Chameleon is something that I kind of coined myself a few years ago when we talked in the beginning about that emotional intelligence and how you have to switch it up.
Okay.
Right. During this last season of this season of my life right now, I'm gonna try to say this without crying. I almost thought I was going to die.
Wow.
Because it was so much stress and tension in the environment that I was in that I needed to, my doctors took me out of work. And so in this reset that I call it, I had to reset my resilience and reset that self-care because I had pretty much gotten to the point where I couldn't keep water down. Like it was that bad. And it was just stress and it was environment and it was people, places and things. So I actively avoid people and places and things that will disturb my peace. Yeah. And I launched a newsletter called the Professional Chameleon Reset. And it's about making purposeful decisions to take care of my mental health as well as my physical health. Now I know that I had all these preconceived notions and stigmas in my head about mental health because I grew up in the church. I'm a pre-K kid as well, right? A PK kid. So it's
Okay.
like, hey,
Okay.
Go to church. You take it to Jesus. I take it to Jesus, but I'll stick to my therapist. My therapist and my doctor, they help me. Okay. I can still have Jesus and I can still go to therapy. Facts. And so in this season, resetting, I have been able to, first of all, let's pause. I am okay. Doctor's clear to me of everything. That ain't nothing but God. That ain't nothing but God.
All right now.
And it was all because the doctors were like, you need to make sure you're prioritizing you. I prioritize other people and companies' goals versus my health, my wealth, my wellness, my family. And so I had to make sure that I showed my kids that it's okay to pause.
Good.
And in that, my podcast, which will actually be live at several different small and diverse businesses. So that's the uniqueness. I wanted to keep my supplier diversity supply chain hat on and that aspect. And so what I did was I reached out to local businesses in our region in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. I said, hey, I don't want my podcast just to be here in my house. I want to come into your space so that I can tag you, so that I can highlight you, so that I can talk about you. But I also want to talk about these 52 titles that I had already put together. So I have a 52-week plan. People have started to sign up for me to come there, and they just host it because they're like, hey, you supported me. You made sure that we got into this directory. I'm like, oh, I did that makes me cry. But I feel as though I want to make sure that our local businesses are highlighted.
Yeah.
And so I start filming this week.
Awesome.
So that's pretty dope. Because at the same time, I'm also going to be doing a TED Talk. Look at God. So I'm going to be doing a TED Talk. I'm putting that all together. It's called the Professional Chameleon Reset. And it's all about being your unapologetic self, but not losing yourself and not shrinking for the world. And so I want to have each episode is going to be in different places. Right now I'm starting in Philly, Delaware, New Jersey. I already got the first 10 locked in. So that's pretty dope for some idea I just came up with a few weeks ago.
I love it.
But it is moving fast, and people are reaching out to help and support because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm figuring it out. Just do it.
I'm proud of you. Seriously. I mean, you like on a next level right now. Seriously, you on the next level, and man, you this and that. Sharon, I'm gonna start winding this down. But at the end of every podcast, I like to play my little 5-question game with people.
Okay.
Would you like to play with me today?
Yes, let us play.
Okay, let's play here. I mean, I'm not gonna ask no Star Wars or Star Trek questions.
Please don't, because
we can get a whole debate about that. I'm not gonna go there today. But all right. Question number 1: what was your favorite toy as a kid?
The ones I made. You mean the ones I made? Because I thought I was MacGyver.
Whatever.
Yeah. Jax.
God, I haven't seen that in years. My God.
On my table.
Oh my God. Girl, man. Every time I play Jax, I'll be the ball goes somewhere.
Hand-eye coordination.
I got none of that.
My children. So it's funny to me. Just throw the Jax on the table.
Oh my goodness.
The kids like.
Oh my goodness. Okay. What is one word that best describes you now?
Fierce.
Really?
Fierce. I am fiercely guarding my peace. I am fiercely telling people no, very unapologetically.
Okay. All right. Okay. I like that one. I do like that right there. This one you go like. If past you can see you now, what would past you say to you now?
What would past me say? I'm so proud of you, but not giving up.
I do love it.
You gonna make me cry?
Hey, that's okay. I mean, you said earlier it's okay. Hey, but you said it's okay to cry.
It's okay to cry.
Hey, okay.
I'm trying to be all professional.
You trying to be all professional?
All I could do was be me, to be honest. That's all I could do.
All right. This card is a little bit different, but almost the same. If you can go 10 years ahead and ask 10 years in the future, one question, you can only ask that one question 10 years in the future. That's Sharon. What question would you ask her?
Why didn't you start sooner? Why didn't you get on this path sooner? I know that you thought you couldn't, but why didn't you start sooner? Don't let them people stay in your head.
I actually love that. I actually love that. I do. And this was a real minor one, but it's one of my favorites. And since you from Philly, all right. First and foremost, do you like pretzels?
I love pretzels.
You love pretzels, right? Okay. Pick one or the other. Philly pretzel or Wawa pretzel?
Philly pretzel.
I don't know.
Don't eat that stuff from listen.
Wawa.
Good though. All right, I ain't gonna lie, but a Philly pretzel hot, straight from the Philly pretzel factory, is better. Like you got to get it straight from the factory, nice and hot. If it's not hot, and if you want hot pretzels, you get a Philly pretzel. If you want the generic, going to the corner store bodega pretzels, then you go to Wawa.
Hey, listen, right? I told you, right? I was in Philly in April. Right? I took my girlfriend with me, right? And man, right? Because she never been to Philly, right? I gave her Philly pretzel and I gave her Rita's water ice. Man, she was going crazy, man. She was begging me for a present. That water.
You should have took her to Fred's. You should have took her to Fred's water ice in West Philly, in Southwest. Going to Southwest, gotta get some Fred's water ice.
I went to Rita's across the street from my old high school, Brooke.
Okay.
Yeah, 630. I went up there, so that was all good. Sharon, I'm gonna give you the last word. Out of everything, your whole journey, your career, your books, what you're doing now for especially the businesses in your area in Philly and Jersey, Delaware, diversity. What are you most proud of, and what have you learned the most in this journey of yours?
What am I most proud of? And what have I learned the most? I am most proud of the fact that I'm in year 16 of my marriage. I had 2 beautiful children, 1 boy, 1 girl. And I'm most proud of the fact that they are well-grounded, well-behaved. Both are doing well. I'm most proud of the fact that when me and my husband first got together, we both considered ourselves college dropouts. We both from West Philly. And it was so crazy that now we both have multiple degrees. He just finished his master's. I finished mine a few years ago.
Awesome.
I'm most proud of the fact that we can provide for our children the examples that we wish we had.
Good.
And I think that if we continue to push ourselves to do better, to be better every year, I tell people I'm in competition with myself. If I don't stack up a new hater every year, I ain't doing something right. And if I don't do better than the me I was last year, then I ain't doing something right. So that's why I do something different every year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just me being in competition with myself. I'm the Joneses, trying to get over the Joneses. That is what I do. And if I keep that mindset up, I want to pass that along to my children.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I do love it. I tell you, Sharon, you know what? I'm actually gonna bring you back on for something else. I think you'd be very, very good for that. But thank you so much for coming on my show today. I appreciate you.
I'm so excited because when Donnie reached out to me, that was it. And then I just started following her. And I
My
said, look at
podcast is
that.
all over the place.
And I
Trust
said,
me.
well, I had just come up with this idea about launching mine. And I was like, I was telling Donnie, I was like, well,
I love it.
okay.
I
And I
do.
thought it was just so like a full circle moment, right? Because Donnie is like my brother's generation on the block, grew up on the same block.
Yeah.
And then I always kind of put zingers at him because him and his wife had that Cowboys Eagles
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah.
And so I every time they published something, I always zing him. I said, "You from Webster Street? You go for the Eagles every time." And so
First
I
and
zing him
foremost,
all the
he a
time.
fraud. Sharon, he a cowboy fraud. Don't listen to him. Anyway, Sharon, thank you so much for being with me today. All right, everybody. We will see you next week on Let's Talk About It. Peace.